Okay, so I think I've got the fatigue right. These two have 2. This arquebus unit had 2 rounds of melee, so it's got the purple marker. These guys had 2 rounds of melee and a charge. These skirmishers had just a charge. These guys had 4 movement. Those guys stood fast, no fatigue. Those guys stood fast and fired, no fatigue. 3 fatigue. Charge and 2 rounds of melee for the heavy crossbowmen who reloaded last round. This guy has 1 round of melee, and then the entire front rank was wiped out. Those guys have no fatigue. These guys have, interestingly enough, this is the one time where it actually did turn out. So moving 2 consecutive turns, charging and meleeing. Moving 2 consecutive turns, charging and meleeing. This heavy foot unit is fatigued now. And then the hero that's with them is probably double fatigued. And then these guys, 3 rounds of movement, 2 rounds of movement, 2 rounds of movement, 2 rounds of movement. So interestingly enough, tracking the fatigue exactly does give us a result we might not have seen. So let's look at this hero here. He has fully fatigued, the red one. He's got 3 rounds of movement, a charge, and then 2 rounds of melee. Actually, that should be 1 round of melee, so sorry, because they broke off after a round. Now, had it been 2 rounds, we would have had double fatigue, because moving 1 turn, charging, and then meleeing 2. So moving 1 turn, a charge, and a melee for 2 would have done it. And we don't really have moving for 5 consecutive turns here, so he's not double fatigued yet, but almost. Okay, here we go with turn 11. I am quite the optimist that this is going to be easier to resolve than I thought it was going to be. We've made some fatigue adjustments and discussed this disorder situation. Turn 11 denoted down here. So orders. I've reviewed the orders from both teams. It will get fairly interesting. There are, of course, going to be some problems reading this stuff that I just Gmailed to myself because of line breaks. Great. Okay, so the red hero here with this block of heavy foot troops, which was originally a medium horseman, is going to challenge the blue army commander here. They are definitely within the command range once he makes his half a move. So who is actually going to be able to fire here during the pass-through fire phase? Well, there is a set of arquebuses over here that are loaded. They could potentially fire during the pass-through fire phase. They've been ordered to fire at the heavy horse over here, so we'll handle movement in half moves for this stuff. We also have the eastern arquebuses for the blue side that can fire, so again, they'll be firing at these heavy footmen. And then we also have the western cannon fire during the artillery segment. That's over here. Their heavy cannon will now fire at the armored foot with long instructions. So other than that, I think I can move stuff. So this block of troops and this arquebus, this block of troops and this arquebus are the only ones that I really need to worry about for pass-through. So let's move these specific units. Well, let's move everybody half a move. Let's just do it that way. It'll be much easier. Okay, so this hero is going to move midway toward that hero. I'm going to assume heroes are in the middle of their troop block. That troop block is about 14.5. That hero would have been about 7-ish, somewhere in here. He detaches from his unit. That's important lingo. He was a medium horse, so he would have been able to go, let's see, heavy horse is 12, medium horse is 15. He would have been able to go 7.5. So he would have been able to go right here to this corner and issue his challenge at the half move. the heavy footmen charge the arquebuses. I don't think you can do charges 2 turns in a row. Since they charged last turn, let's find out if I'm remembering that right. Charges. Let's make sure the camera is rolling while we're doing this. Camera is rolling. Charges. Nothing is ever easy to find. Charge move permitted only when melee contact expected. Unit moving. Must move at normal speed on the following turns. So I will not allow a charge, but I will allow them to advance into contact. So as they're doing that, they're going to receive pass-through fire. So let's move them halfway. They'll be close range. Doesn't really matter, but I'm trying to be consistent here. Arquebus is heavy foot charge arquebuses. Cannon, reload. So these guys are reloading. I'm going to remove that marker now for both of them, even though it will take multiple turns. So they both have full crews at this point. So really I can't remove the marker quite yet. I'm going to drop it down to 1 marker just so that I know reloading is still going on over there. Okay. Heavy horse, charge the heavy foot. So let me reread this right. Heavy horse, charge heavy foot. They only have 1 heavy horse unit. They're charging at the heavy foot. They were already on the oblique. They have not charged before. Looks like they're about 15. And again, I'm doing half moves at this point. Double check this on the range. Heavy foot, heavy horse. Heavy horse during a charge is 18, so they can go 9. So 15 minus 9 takes them out here to 6 for their half move. Heavy horse hero challenged the hero if in range. So will he be in range? Again, we'll assume that he's right in the middle of the front rank. And his command radius, he's not an army commander, so his command radius is 6. So I think the ruling at this point is, that's about, to the other army commander, it's going to be closer to 12. Maybe during the remainder of the movement segment, he'll get a chance to issue that challenge. We'll see. I think the answer is yes, depending on what happens here with this other craziness. Okay, armored foot, full advance forward. So these guys, we're going to move this cannon off the block here temporarily. These guys are going to move 6, so we're moving half of their movement at this point. So we're moving them 3. Again, we're going to position this guy. Oh, these guys were moving on the oblique. Let me back that up. Nope. Nope, it does say advance forward. So they're moving on the oblique. So 1, 2, 3, and we'll straighten out the cannons here in a moment. So that's their half move. Let's come around here to blue and do their half moves. Again, just to keep this straight, I'm going to put a couple firing markers out here. So there will be some pass-through fire here. There was going to be pass-through fire from this guy, and then there was going to be cannon fire from this guy. Everybody else is moving, so there will be no pass-through fire at the half phase. Okay, so here we go. With blue, Eastern skirmishers, that's these guys, wheel parallel to the river, which they can move 12. So we're going to move them 6 on this wheel. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's their half move. And they're almost at the full move at this point. Eastern handgunners stand and fire. Heavy crossbow charge the rear of the heavy foot. So over this way. So this block of disordered troops is charging the rear of that heavy foot. Very much an edge case, right? They're supposed to have a zone that prevents infiltration that's an inch wide. This guy is coming from here. He's actually making his way through his own troops. And these guys are charging to the rear. I don't think this is going to be interference. We're going to temporarily just move this guy out of the way. Now these guys, some of them were faced that way. Some of them were faced this way and that way. I think what we have to do is assume that this half move right here is everybody straightening out their facing. So at the half move, those guys are actually all straightening themselves out to make a charge that way, which is fine. So we're going to tidy them up and get them ready to charge. Move the disorder marker. And again, that's going to kind of remove this disorder that they're currently in. Not quite a formation change, but close to that concept. And I'm going to move this block here just to make it easy. So because they're not being charged by that heavy horse, this disorder got a chance to get removed. If that heavy horseman had charged those guys, a different story. I'm going to remove this disorder marker at this point. So they've done their half move. Center block of 5 blue skirmishers. That's these guys. Charge heavy horse. Okay, so I moved the heavy horse 9 of their 15. So let's back this up just a second here. So we're going to put these guys, well, how many back should it be? They were facing that way. Yeah, 9 of 15. We're going to back these guys up. One, 2, 3, 4.5. So 4.5. So this is basically a quarter of their move. What would a quarter of a charge move for these guys be? They are light troops that are moving at 12. I'm going to treat them on the charge as though they're light foot 12. Yeah, charge move 12. Because if you look at arquebuses and crossbowmen who have a movement of 12, their charge movement is 12. So a quarter move for those guys would be 3 inches. So I'm going to give them 3 inches of movement, which I think is going to bring them into contact. Oh, that's a problem. They can't charge. They have a charge marker from last time. They can move a quarter move, which in this case turns out is exactly the same amount. No facing change is necessary because these guys are skirmishers. So a quarter of a move would put them, stop. Quarter of a move would be 3. Yeah, and I think if I move them 1 and move these guys 1, we're going to end up with contact here. And again, we had some kind of fancy dice rolls to decide whether these are going to hit on the flank, hit on the front, or break. So on a 1 or a 2, they're going to break into an L shape. On a 3 or 4, front, 5 or 6 flank. 3 front. So these guys are all going to conform to their front. And I'm going to say that they're all in contact because horses are in general a little bit bigger than foot troops, except when you're using blocks like this. Okay, so this is where the contact will occur. And this is who is going to be in contact and on which flank. So it's going to be front flank, or I'm sorry, not front flank, but front to front. Okay, so that's their move. That's their half move. Let's see. So that was center block of 5 skirmishers, western block of 5 skirmishers. Charge the handgunners in the flank. Okay, western block of skirmishers. Charge handgunners in the flank. I think they are easily going to be able to make the contact here that's desired. It will not be a charge because they had also charged previously. So not a charge, not a charge, not a charge, guys. Heavy foot, wheel to face, south-southeast, about 30 degrees. Heavy foot, change into the south-southeast. I'm going to call that a quarter move to go on the oblique. 30 degrees is the small mouth, right? It's a 30, 60, 90 triangle. I'm making this too complicated. Heavy foot, wheel to face south-southeast. So south, east, south-southeast. So they want to move not 45 degrees, but about 30 degrees this way. Which actually plays into his hands. So south, southeast. And since they're simply wheeling, no need to really measure. I don't think they'll incur fatigue. It's not going to be more than a quarter move to kind of do this. Okay. Armored foot stand fast unless charged. Armored foot standing fast unless charged. And I've got more specific orders about that. Heavy horse 1, wheel and charge handgunners in the west flank. Oh boy, we've got a double envelopment. Now, these guys have not charged, so this is legitimately a charge, which they can get up to 18, as we just saw. And we're going to be crossing the farm field here. So what can we do on the half move here? We can do 9 on the half move. So wheel them 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That'll be their half move. And then heavy horse 2, advance due south, 1 move. Due south. So they're going to continue to wheel and then go due south. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Back them up. 6. That's a half move right there. They're now facing directly south at their half move. Eastern cannon, reload. So these guys are reloading. I'm going to move the marker behind. Western cannon, fire on armored foot, long. This order was given with instructions that they knew that this guy could potentially mask. Okay, so fortunately we're not at the artillery phase yet, but I'm going to, 5 out of 6, I'm going to fire that guy. All right. Next, pass-through fire. These guys moved. They cannot issue pass-through fire. These arquebuses are at close range. There are 6 of them. 3, 6. They are not fatigued. They do fall within the influence range of their Army commander. Let's double check that. Yes. So they're going to get a +1. So essentially they cannot miss, because at close range only a 1 would miss. But in this case they can't even roll 1. They're going to impose 6 casualties on these heavy footmen to their front before they are recontacted. 2, 4, 6. Now, we had an off-topic discussion about the fact that I made a second roll for these guys' morale that was done on camera that shouldn't have been done, and I'm going to apply that roll to their excess casualties, which is why they're not testing at this point. We're assuming that they were tested last turn when they fell below the 66% threshold, and I missed doing the roll, but I doubled up on rolls over there from turn 9 and 10. So these guys are going to stay on the field, and also we all wanted to continue the fun with melee. So I'm removing these, but they're down to 23 out of 50, which is 46%. If they fall to 33%, however, the unit will be removed from the board entirely. All right, moving these guys off the board into the kill pile. So that pass-through fire is resolved now. This is cannon fire. This is pass-through fire. So these are arquebuses. They have a 45-degree range. The fire takes place at the midpoint. I don't think we've got a great shot with most of them. Let's take a look. Are we still recording? Yes. Yay, we've got a measurement device. So they were ordered to fire at these heavy horsemen that are wheeling about. And I think they're going to interpret that as being these heavy horsemen. I don't think these guys on the end here are going to have a shot at anything. No. That's 23. Even if I come down here, that's 21. And I think, yeah, it's 18. I remember the table, I can picture it. So only these heavy horsemen are going to be affected by this fire. It looks like we've only got a shot from maybe the first block. Yeah, we've only got a shot from one guy. That shot is going to take place. So therefore, these guys are still going to be considered loaded, by the way, for next time, if they survive this. But he only gets one shot because these heavy horsemen were not... and yeah, that's a good question. Back rank. Back rank. These are direct fire weapons, but we allow two ranks to fire. It's out of the arc, I'm sorry. That one can't fire. Even if he was facing... Okay, so let's say that he was facing this way. These two guys faced that way on the end. Which was the commander's intent, was that these guys would fire at those guys. I think I'm going to give you 2 shots here. 2 shots. Both of them are within 6 inches. I think that's going to be close range. They are not, that's not, I think that is. Yeah. So they're going to get the benefit of their army commander here. And I think if I remember right, it was 5s or 6s are the only thing that hits. Yeah. Actually, 6 inches, 4 to 6. 6 inches, 4 to 6. Let's remeasure this. Let's just be sure. Yeah, that's 6. That's 6. I'm going to give the 2 guys on the end a shot at 6 to 12 inches, which is a 4 to 6, but because they've got their Army commander, it's 3 to 6. So 1s and 2s misses. Everything else hits. 2 miss, so 1 hit out of that. And those guys have fired just these 2 men on the end, which could become important later. So 1 troop is removed. That's not enough to trigger any kind of instability. Yeah, I'm going to set that aside over here. So that was that firing. Okay, so that was pass-through fire. Now we're going to handle the other half of the moves. Let me stop the camera and restart it. Also, I have an appointment here in a few minutes. Restarting the camera recording 2. We have done a half move for both blue and red. We've taken their applicable pass-through fire, and now we're conducting the second half of the movement segment. Flipping back to the orders for red. For red, this hero is challenging that hero and will get a chance to do that during the melee segment. So we're going to have a little hero on hero. He's a pikeman. This horseman is fatigued, more than fatigued at this point. This guy is a heavy footman. This guy is a medium horseman. I'll untangle all those factors, but I think basically the fact that he's a horseman but he's fatigued evens him out with a heavy footman. And so therefore it's going to be a straight up roll, hero versus hero. Well, why should we keep the suspense going since I've already thought about this? Should I make the roll now? I think I'm going to make the roll now. So because he's a pikeman, however, if this should be one of those circumstances where it's simultaneous kills or simultaneous pushbacks or something like that, there will be an advantage to the blue side because he's a pikeman. That's the only difference that we're going to have. So let's give it a roll. This is for blue. Blue rolls an 11. This is for red. Red rolls a 7. So we already know what the outcome is going to be. Let's get him off the board. We won't have to deal with tons of units disappearing because the Army commander is gone. So I can get that out of my mental headspace right now. And we can clear off all these fatigue markers. So that hero is finally removed from play. Good grief. All right. Moving on to the next part of this very busy turn 11. So that was the hero. The heavy foot charged, but not really because they couldn't charge. So they get to move forward. These arquebuses were standing fast. Yep, they stood fast. They fired, that's right. They fired and we removed. So these guys moved into contact with them. I'm just going to push them all forward. So they're in contact now. We're going to even out this back row. So that's going to be a melee to resolve. Probably after I come back from my yogaing. Arquebuses. No, cannon, reload. We're already talking about that. Heavy horsemen charge at the... Yeah, their heavy horsemen had orders to charge the heavy foot, but they were intercepted by those skirmishers. And so there will be a melee there as well. Let's see. Heavy horse hero, on the other hand, that heavy horse hero wanted to detach from his unit and challenge this heavy foot hero who just fought a battle over here. Now they've only moved 4.5 plus 1, 5.5 of their charge move. They've moved 5.5 of their charge move. Can he sweep around there and get there. And be within command range. Probably, but let's take a look. Heavy horse 18 minus 5.5 is going to be 12.5 more, and he has a command range of, I think it was 6, I don't know, 5.5 more. No, 5.5, 12.5 more. And I think in this case, this, yeah, he's not going to be able to make it. Because that guy is over there. They have a zone of 1 inch around that prevents infiltration. He sees this. He's blocked in his front. He's going to have to go the long way around. I think I will allow him to complete his charge movement and position himself to make that challenge next time. But I don't think I can let him just zip over there and challenge that guy. Besides, technically, those guys are still battling. So he's sweeping around this way to make the challenge. He's detached from his unit, so that unit will not benefit from him. All right, I think that's as fair as I can get on that. It does say challenge hero if in range. If in range. The hero was not in range. They did give me orders about if he's not in range. Never mind, I retcon that. He's staying with his unit. They'll benefit from his guidance. Charge, challenge hero. Armored foot, full advance forward. And arquebuses fire at the heavy. Okay, so those guys fired but stood fast. These armored foot now, I will complete their move. 3 inches more. Yep. I will not forget yoga. Okay. So that is that for the red move. Let's switch back here to the blue move. This bugs me. Switching back to the blue move. Eastern skirmishers wheel parallel to the river. Yes, they wheel parallel to the river. Those guys are going to incur fatigue because they went beyond 6 to make that wheel around. Fire at any available target. They must beat an opposed dice roll because they've moved more than half. This roll is for blue, 1. This roll is for red, 4. There will be no fire from these guys during this round. During this turn, rather. During this turn. All right. Eastern handgunners. Stand and fire. They did that. They're going to be a melee. Heavy crossbow charge the rear. Those heavy crossbowmen already made a charge last turn with a cry, if you recall. So they can't do a charge. They did half a move reorganizing, and I'll allow them to move the other half. Their crossbowmen, their heavy crossbowmen move 9 normally, so they get 4.5 inches closer, but I don't think they're going to be able to get there. We're going to just take them 4.5 in this direction. So 4.5, they're not quite in contact, because even if they wheeled, they would not make contact. They're unfortunately not going to be a factor in this unless pulled into melee, which I think the intent was that they would be able to be pulled into melee. So scratch what I just said. I think they are going to be within 3 inches of a melee. Yes? No, they're not within 3 inches of melee. Even if I bump them over, which would short their distance a little more. I don't think they're coming in this time, guys. All right, moving on. Center block of five blue skirmishers. We already handled. They're in contact. They're going to be in melee. Western block of 5 skirmishers charge the handgunners in the flank. They already made contact. I will advance these guys up like this. I will allow the wraparound now to take place. We'll just leave this guy to fill in where he needs to fill in, right? So put those guys in contact. Okay. Western block of 5 skirmishers. Heavy foot, wheel to face south-southeast. I think we already did that. They will be able to be drawn in. Armored foot, stand fast. Unless, doesn't apply. Heavy horse, wheel and charge. All right, that's right. We did the wheel and charge. They were charging. Again, this goes back to where we were. Heavy horsemen charging. They did 18. We moved them 9. What can they do with the 9 left? Pretty much they can come up to... They can wheel some more. 1. God bless. Come on now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah. The outside man can make it 7. Ha! This whole thing is disintegrating right before my eyes. All right. I'm going to fill it in like this. They do make contact. They are facing the correct direction. This whole thing is becoming complicated. Boom. Boom. And then these guys were supposed to move up some more too. They were supposed to move up the remaining 6 inches of their move. Because they were not charging. Okay. I think this is a good natural stopping point for me. Eastern cannon reload, Western cannon fire. Oh yeah, okay, so movement phase is over. Let's handle this fire order. Unless I roll a 6, that mofo is firing, and he does not care. He is firing. We received orders. Okay, so this is their heavy cannon, so I used the longer one. We were ordered to fire long, which means black. Point of aim is the armored foot. Let's roll the variation measure. I'm going to lay it. I'm going to assume that he's aiming at what he can see, which he can see those armored foot just barely. And he saw them through the gap before those guys ran in front of him. So he basically touched it as those guys were charging forward and went, shit. Okay. Variation measure. 2. So that's going to be off to the left by 1.5 inches. So I'm going to lay it where he could see, and then I'm going to shift position. So I'm going to hold this down as best I can, what I got here. Hold this down, lay it down, put the variation measure at the far end. Hello, Rosie, are you on camera? Are you going to be on camera? Make sure I'm on the centimeter scale. I am on the centimeter scale. Center this up. Looks to be centered. Move 1.5 inches. Boom. And now kill everything that's touched by black. It's going to take out 2 of these guys. And I think I should get a shot over top in case there's a dispute about whether fratricide should occur or not. I think I might have to apply fratricide, but let's get a good, where's it? Where's it? Okay, we got a picture. Lovely. Are we still recording? Yes, we're still recording. Okay, I'm going to stop this recording. I'm going to go yoga, and then I'll be back.